Hello, my name is Calvin Stevens. I want to thank Martin and the OSE developers team for letting me do this video cover letter. It's probably going to seem a little awkward and rambly at times, so try to bear with me, and I'd like to answer some of the questions that are part of the cover letter interview. Can I commit to 10 hours of volunteer time for 90 days? I read that as 10 hours a week. Yes, right now I will commit to that, and we will see how my involvement can continue past that point. Definitely I hope to remain involved with it for a long time. I would like to see this project completed, whatever that means. What is the biggest value that I get out of volunteering with OSE? The biggest value that I think of is being a part of change. Being a part of changing the world, changing ideas. The ideas you talk about and have been talking about for quite some time in your TED Talk videos and the other documents, the extensive Wikipedia articles you have, they're exciting. How could they not be? How could someone, for all the criticism you've had over the years, how can the idea not be exciting and intriguing? Being a part of that change of putting information and physical tools in people's hand, that's exciting. The other part, of course, is hopefully utilizing finished products. I very much hope that I'll be able to use OSE products in my own life, my own community. If not as exact as they are, then definitely a variation of them. We'll see where that goes. Open source collaboration, I have installed or I've ran live editions of Ubuntu in the past. I've toyed with that. Never quite got to where I was comfortable using it to where I would replace Windows, beyond the philosophical reasons for doing so. But for this project, it makes sense to have everyone using the same set of software tools, and they seem like a very powerful and extensive set of software tools. That makes sense, everyone using the same things. The information, I think, should all be accessible on the cloud in some form anyways. It doesn't do anyone any good to have a bunch of links and shortcuts to items on my desktop or my laptop. So wherever we're storing them, the different repositories that are in use, so it eliminates a lot of the need to ask people to do a full traditional install of Ubuntu, knowing that the data by design needs to be accessible on the internet anyways. You talk about work logs and documentation. Am I willing to document on a continual basis? Yes, absolutely. Documentation is critical. It is the great weakness of the companies I've worked with. I would say probably every company that I've worked with, one of the great weaknesses is a poor documentation or no documentation. There are a few stories that come to mind that deal with that, that maybe I can share sometime. Finances. Do I currently have a full-time job? Yes, I do work full-time, 40-hour position in an automotive manufacturing facility. I also am the part-time exhibit designer and maintenance for a local children's museum, and that's exciting. That's ideal. Actually, that's not true. Ideal would be to be doing that full-time and manufacturing part-time, but that's where it is right now. We're finishing up a major project soon, and we'll see how that influences my time over the coming winter months. But yes, definitely financially stable at the moment. You talk about, am I willing to learn KDev Live? And I just add to that other collaboration software. I'm using Open Broadcast right now. I've never used that before to record the software, to record this video. Yes, I'm always willing to learn new software. That is something that is always interesting to me, to pick a new tool up, to learn how to use it, how to apply it to my life. So by all means, any software that is required to be used, if it's good, solid, tested software, I'm more than willing to learn that and learn how to implement it. Now, you talk about what is the biggest task? How do you word that? biggest task that I am proudest of, or that I've accomplished. Now, this might sound like an awkward answer, maybe not a very good answer. I don't feel like I've finished all the major things I've started with. I am raising 3 children. I think I'm doing a fair job of that. Every time we start something, it seems like we move, or there's a change in the jobs, or there's just life happening, or I'm working on it alone, and eventually my interests move on, or there's an obstacle I can't overcome, whether it's financial or otherwise, and the project just idles. We're in the middle right now of building 2 passive solar window heating boxes. I've worked on a rainwater collection system in the past. We are trying to transform the land we live on right now and fight back against the woods and the undergrowth to make it accessible and then usable. There have been a number of projects that I've worked on over the years that all have to do with, I would say they all have to do with a better world. Idea sharing projects, mechanical projects. So naturally, finding out about OSE, you can see the connection is there. I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who has an idea like this, that wants to work on the problems of tools and information and building standardization. So what am I most proud of, I guess, is the of trying. I'm always trying. I'm always picking up new ideas, and we'll be in a conversation and I can say, hey, I know of an idea, blah blah blah, and we'll start talking, and hopefully some of those conversations have pushed other people to actually finish them. People come up and say, hey, I'm thinking about this, and I can say, yeah, I know all about that. I've been researching that. I've been studying that. Let me feed your interest with some information. And it's exciting to see where that goes. So what am I most proud of? The process, the research, the pool, the collection. In the future, what I hope to be most proudest of, as I said earlier, the finished product. To have made it. To have made a deployable, complete power cube, or your life track, or lately the need for something as simple as your universal access, to have a complete, scalable, not to say that it wouldn't be under future refinement or revision, but to say, like, this is it, it's ready, here it is. You have this problem, and I know this will solve it, and you can do it yourself. That, I think, in the future would be one of the things that I would be truly proud to have accomplished, to have been a part of accomplishing. Something I've learned that's revolutionized my life. I don't feel like I want to dig through my past answers. I feel like it should just come spontaneous, and instead I just wind up just scratching my head. What's something that's revolutionized my life? Some piece of information. And I have to say that I think one of them is that the world is big enough to do what you want. It is, now if you want to be some kind of a tyrant or something, I suppose, well, yes, it's still technically big enough, but I don't recommend it. But it's a physically massive world. There's incredible material resources. And I'm sure some of you have already looked into this, the solar budget for our planet, the amount of just sheer energy bombarding us, and what could be done if we could harness a fraction of that. It's incredible. There's 7 billion people on the planet, and we do live in the 20th century. I'm making a video cover letter and transmitting it over the internet. I could be doing it live right now. I could live stream this if I were interested in. We live in an incredible world of possibility. Now, the world's always been the same size. The materials have always been there. But the ability to find a place in the world to apply your passions at there's never been a better time. And if that means working with OSE, if someone, my daughter, if she wants to be a cartoonist, if my son wants to be an engineer, if whatever, if they want to apply it here in the States, if they want to apply it in a far foreign country, it's a world of possibilities. That, and at any age, that children, especially, I would say, junior high, high school age, teenagers age, the potential they have to be involved in things, and their interest has not been diminished yet, up through the retired engineer who he's put his time in, and now he can just sit back and apply all his long life of acquiring information and experience. There's no point in your life, in the world we live in now, where you can't wake up and say, I am going to go follow what I want to do. The world's big enough for that, for an individual to follow their passions. That, I think, that's not a view shared by a lot of the people that I've met. And it's not a view that I've taken steps to act on. And I like to think I'm in the process of changing that too. That's a world of possibilities for all ages, all bodies, all capabilities, physical, mental, otherwise. You ask, what hard skills do I have? I have quite a bit of woodworking knowledge, metalworking knowledge. I have a lot of exposure to machines and automations, particularly at the current factory that I'm working in. Extensive PLC automation, sensors and solenoids and such. A lot of computer experience. Literally learned my alphabet off the keyboard. And I thought briefly in life that the alphabet started with Q. Some electronics experience, working with the Arduino and soldering and things of that sort. There's no hard skill that I'm not interested in learning. That's could be a good thing and a bad thing. I'm more interested in learning and understanding a skill than perfecting it. So I do become, in a way, sort of a jack of all trades in that. I'll never be the best at anything, but I've also found that over time, repeated exposure to something at a lower level, a beginner or moderate level, it has become a second nature to say, oh yeah, I've done this. There's always a period of reteaching, but I keep circling back to this pool of skills. And each time it's a little more familiar, a little easier, and it's always fairly fresh that I can go to someone else with a problem or a conversation and bring this pool of experiences and skills of physical crafting, of design, modeling, art, music. And I'm always taking on new ones, always studying new things, taking on new information. Soft skills. Soft skills is not one that I really have an easy time defining. I'm told that I'm a good teacher or a leader, but in maybe names escaped me. Name is thank you, Plato. In a way, it's similar to something that I had read on Plato. Perhaps a good teacher never thinks they are. Maybe a good parent never thinks they are. Someone who's most equipped to do something, they don't see it, and would never choose themselves. Not that probably sounds like I'm talking myself up, but it isn't. I have taught children, teenagers, some adults, all my manufacturing skills. There's always a constant need to be able to train someone, and I think I do pretty well at that, and I've been exposed to a lot of different training systems, leadership styles. Had some low-level leadership experience and different environments, different places that I've worked, or groups I've been a part of. I'm good at organizing information. Sometimes I'm good at it, sometimes I'm not, but the need to have organized information, I'll be that guy. I'll be that guy that spends more time organizing than working, because it's essential, And two, when I finally do start working, it'll be a whole lot easier. And the next time we do the work, I can turn back to that organized information and retrieve it and follow it and refine it. And I can hand that organized information to someone else and say, just follow the steps. Follow the steps. Ask me if you got questions. I tend to learn from a lot of different sources. I try to be conscious of how other people learn. Most of my coworkers learn best by personal interaction, me physically telling them, showing them, letting them get their hands in it and observing them. But while I can learn like that, I very much appreciate the idea of pure book learning. If someone came along and they just would rather follow the steps, well, let me make some steps for you to follow. And having those steps means the guy who's teaching verbally or physically, he can still look back to those steps as a guide to make sure he's followed everything that he needs and has communicated everything he needs. So training guides and documenting and organizing, that's something that if I don't know if I'm very good at it, it's something that I do a lot because I think it's critical. Would I prefer to do the video cover letter or an online interview? That's hard. I'm not sure. But I would think that this video cover letter is a great way to go. It gives you time to review it at your leisure. And interviews, I'm not always sure interviews are as revealing or vital as we've always been taught they are. Maybe it's the formal interview style that often comes in job applications. Are you really getting to know your applicant? Are you really getting the information you want to make a decision about who you're going to involve in a group? So which one would I rather do? I think I'm doing it right now. I think I'm doing the video cover letter. Which one is actually more effective? I guess that's a very different thing. Although a video cover letter requires initiative. I had to download the software if I didn't already have it. I had to press record, be willing to commit to this. A lot of people can go into an interview, even if they're uncomfortable, and they survive. Ask someone to make a video of themselves or take a picture of themselves. Say a speech, read a paragraph, sing a song, and they panic. Even with the anonymity, well, not total anonymity, even with the separation of being online though, people don't like to see themselves, they don't like to hear themselves. So I think there's a pressure involved in making a video cover letter that if you can overcome that, you can work with others, but you can also work by yourself and you can accomplish things and document them. Do I have any questions about OSE or how the dev team works, or final comments or questions? I probably have a million questions. One question that I hope to find out is I'm really curious as to how active the current projects are. A lot of parts of the wiki seem dated or dead. If there is a clear direct contact page, I have trouble finding it. What are the current main methods of groups interacting with each other? I think I saw 2003 was when the project launched. If that's inaccurate, forgive me, please. And I'm sure the project's seen its ups and downs. But here we are, 2017, soon going into 2018. The project's made some incredible milestones. The videos, when I found them, and it's amazing to see the projects coming to life. But I'm very curious to know how active it is, how large of a pool of people you're working with, and what we can do. And I can spend a lot more time talking about how intriguing I find the entire project, how excited I am to have seen it succeed and grow, and to wake and just idly chatter about where it could go, the possibilities, the limitless possibilities that could be achieved through it. Places, products that the project hasn't even touched because it's focused on civilization starters, on essentials, that there are probably other useful tools and appliances that, while they would in themselves be great, they take away from time on working on the essential starter 50. There's lots we can talk about, I'm sure, about the possibilities, the limitless possibilities of this project. But I'll save that for another time. And thank you very much. I knew this was going to be long and rambly. I apologize, and at the same time, I really don't. That's how I am sometimes. So thank you very much. I look forward to hearing from you, and hopefully to do the developer software test and documenting that as well. The primary need, it looks like, from reading on the website, is for dedicated, consistent developers. People are going to stick around and try and get some work done remotely. And I live in Michigan. I don't know when or if I could afford to come down to the e-farm if I wanted to. I just don't know right now. If you asked me, could I visit? No. In the future, I hope so. But the need that I saw communicated was for consistent, contributing people. If you find that that's not the fit for me, then there's another part. What are the other roles to be involved in another project? If it's I don't own or have access to a 3D printer, but I can model, I can make spreadsheets, I can organize. If you don't need me as a developer, what can I be involved in, and who can I be involved with? Because it's an exciting world, it's an exciting future, and there are so many other related projects that, for example, water pasteurization indicator, WAPI. It's part of a solar pasteurizing movement, solar cook kits, that I'd been following since before I had heard of OSE for many years. It's exciting. They're very passionate about their work, changing the future, changing the world of developing countries by giving them clean, pasteurized water. It doesn't get involved with storage. It doesn't get involved with filtration. It doesn't get involved with sourcing. There are other projects that do, but just learning how to pasteurize water and how that can change the health of a community, that's exciting. One of the troubles they get into is the difficulty in creating these simple indicators, in automating a simple thing like that, in putting not just finished products in the hands of their target countries, but the means to create those products. And not just the information, but the machines to create those products. And those machines will need information, will need a materials breakdown list, will need something that can be translated into Afrikaan, I don't know, into all the languages of all the world. Wax activated pasteurization indicators needs the tools of OSE. The other groups that I followed that deal with the sourcing, storage, filtration of water, they are burdened by the inability to overcome labor needs, training needs, the physical processes. There was I could be getting it wrong, there was a project about making clay pots that were microscopically porous to act as water filters. One of their burdens was the limitations of the villagers to make these pots. It took time. It took as much time as it would have in ancient times. The technique had refined to make it a porous filtration system, but the time and labor involved was unchanged. There's a way to make a clay pot 3D printer, an extruder, based on OSE documents that takes their information with your information and changes the world. So I want to be involved. Thank you very much again for a very long and rambling opportunity. Thank you.